Jeffrey Dahmer, one of America's most notorious serial killers, shocked the nation when his heinous crimes came to light in 1991. His story is a chilling exploration of the depths of human depravity, the complex factors that shape a criminal mind, and the ways in which society can fail to prevent or stop such atrocities. Dahmer's troubled childhood played a significant role in the development of his disturbed psyche. Born in 1960 to Lionel and Joyce Dahmer, Jeffrey's early life was marked by parental absence and emotional neglect. His mother struggled with depression, and his father was often away due to work and studies. From a young age, Dahmer exhibited a morbid curiosity about dead animals. He would collect roadkill, dissect the bodies, and even mount the skulls on stakes. This fascination intensified during his teenage years when he began actively seeking out and killing small animals. He would dissect them, dissolve their flesh in acid, and keep their bones as trophies. Such behavior is a known precursor to later violence against humans in some serial killers. Despite these alarming signs, Dahmer's parents were largely absent or unaware due to their own struggles. His mother's mental health deteriorated, leading to bitter fights with his father. They eventually divorced when Dahmer was 18. This unstable home life likely contributed to Dahmer's isolation and lack of empathy. During high school, Dahmer was known as an outcast who drank heavily. His alcoholism, which began at age 14, escalated after graduation. He was arrested for disorderly conduct and possessing an open liquor bottle as a minor. However, these incidents were treated as isolated rather than part of a larger pattern of disturbance. In the absence of proper guidance, boundaries, and mental health intervention, Dahmer's morbid fantasies and impulses festered unchecked. Teachers and other authority figures failed to recognize or act upon the seriousness of his behavior. This lack of early intervention was a missed opportunity to address his budding psychopathic tendencies before they fully took root. While a troubled childhood does not excuse Dahmer's later crimes, it does provide crucial context for understanding the psychological and environmental factors that shaped him. His story underscores the vital importance of engaged parenting, early detection of warning signs, and robust mental health support systems for troubled youth. Absent these protective factors, disturbed individuals like Dahmer are more likely to slip through the cracks with devastating consequences. As Dahmer entered adulthood, his violent fantasies and impulses escalated from animal cruelty to crimes against humans. Between 1978 and 1991, he murdered and dismembered 17 young men and boys, mostly in his Wisconsin apartment. His modus operandi followed a chilling pattern. Dahmer would frequent gay bars, malls, and bus stops, luring victims to his home with offers of money for posing for photographs, watching videos, or having sex. Once there, he would drug them, usually by spiking their drinks with sleeping pills. With his victims unconscious and unable to resist, Dahmer would strangle them to death, often while sexually assaulting them. The crimes took an even more macabre turn after the killings. Dahmer would engage in necrophilia with the corpses, finding sexual gratification in the act. He then began to dismember the bodies, photographing and often masturbating during the process. In some cases, he preserved body parts such as skulls, genitals, and severed hands as mementos of his crimes. Most disturbingly, Dahmer's perversions extended to cannibalism. He would cut strips of flesh from his victims' bodies to consume, claiming it made him feel as if they were a permanent part of him. On some occasions, he froze the organs to eat later. These heinous acts fulfilled Dahmer's deeply disturbed fantasies of total domination and possession over his victims. By consuming their flesh and keeping parts of their bodies, he felt he could keep them with him forever. Necrophilia and cannibalism served to prolong and intensify his sense of power and control. The sheer depravity and scale of Dahmer's crimes shocked the public when they came to light. The idea that someone could not only murder but sexually violate, dismember, and eat another human being was unfathomable to most. His actions seemed to defy any sense of humanity or morality. Psychologists have suggested that Dahmer's necrophilia and cannibalism stemmed from a profound fear of abandonment and a desire for total control over his partners. Unable to maintain normal relationships, he sought to possess his victims entirely, both sexually and literally through consumption. It was the ultimate act of objectification and ownership. The case of Jeffrey Dahmer stands as a chilling embodiment of the darkest depths of human perversion. His transition from troubled youth to serial killer, necrophiliac, and cannibal defies understanding for most. Yet it remains a disturbing reminder of the capacity for evil that can reside within the human psyche, and the importance of staying vigilant to the warning signs of deeply disturbed individuals. The making of a serial killer like Jeffrey Dahmer is a complex interplay of psychological, biological, and environmental factors. While there is no single profile or cause, experts have identified certain common threads that appear in many cases. Childhood trauma is one such factor that is frequently present in the backgrounds of serial killers. This can include physical, sexual, or emotional abuse, neglect, abandonment, or exposure to violence. Such experiences can disrupt normal emotional development, leading to a lack of empathy, a sense of powerlessness, and a need for control. Dahmer's early life, marked by parental absence and emotional distance, may have contributed to his later inability to form healthy attachments. Personality disorders, particularly those within The cluster B category, which includes antisocial, borderline, histrionic, and narcissistic disorders, are also common among serial killers. These disorders are characterized by unstable and intense emotions, impulsivity, and disturbed interpersonal functioning. In Dahmer's case, he exhibited traits associated with borderline personality disorder, BPD. Individuals with BPD often have profound fear of abandonment, chronic feelings of emptiness, and a pattern of unstable relationships. They may resort to extreme measures to avoid real or perceived abandonment. For Dahmer, killing and possessing his victims' bodies could be seen as a twisted way of preventing them from ever leaving him. Deviant sexual fantasies and paraphilias, atypical sexual interests, also play a role in many serial killers' psychology. Dahmer's necrophilia, or sexual attraction to corpses, was a driving force behind his crimes. The ultimate control and possession afforded by an unresisting, lifeless body fed into his deep-seated desires and insecurities. Such paraphilic interests often develop in adolescence or early adulthood and can intensify over time if left unchecked. Substance abuse is another common factor that can fuel violent behavior. Dahmer was a heavy drinker from his teenage years onward. Alcohol likely lowered his inhibitions and exacerbated his impulse control issues, making it easier for him to act on his murderous urges. Substance abuse can also be a way of coping with the psychological strain of living a double life and the guilt or shame associated with deviant thoughts and actions. It's important to note that while these factors are often present in the backgrounds of serial killers, they are not deterministic. Many individuals who experience trauma, struggle with mental health issues, or have atypical sexual interests do not go on to become violent predators. It is the specific combination and severity of these factors, along with an enabling environment and lack of intervention, that can result in a Dahmer-like trajectory. Understanding the psychology of serial killers like Jeffrey Dahmer is crucial for prevention, early intervention, and the development of more effective forensic and therapeutic approaches. By studying these extreme cases, we can gain insights into the complex interplay of nature and nurture that can lead to such devastating outcomes and work towards building a society that is better equipped to identify and address the warning signs before more lives are lost. However, Dahmer's crimes also highlight broader societal issues and failures. Many of his victims were young, gay men of color, a marginalized group often overlooked by law enforcement. In one particularly disturbing incident, a drugged and naked 14-year-old victim escaped Dahmer's apartment, only to be returned to Dahmer by police who accepted his claim that the boy was his adult lover. This is an extreme example of systemic failures and biases that allowed Dahmer to evade capture for so long. Ultimately, Dahmer's crimes serve as a grim reminder of the evil that can lurk within the human psyche and the importance of addressing early warning signs, providing mental health support, and fixing the societal cracks through which the most vulnerable can slip. While rare, cases like Dahmer's force us to confront uncomfortable questions about human nature and our collective responsibility to prevent such horrors. Jeffrey Dahmer's story is a disturbing case study in crime, psychology, and societal failure that continues to haunt and to demand critical reflection on how we can do better to protect the innocent and vulnerable among us.